You can now get a 30-day trial to experience The Athletic for free. Visit the link in the description below to try it now.
In August 2012, a new Premier League star emerged. Starting their season away at Queen's Park Rangers, Swansea recorded a thumping 5-0 win, at the heart of which was a shaggy-haired Spaniard who'd arrived at the club with little fanfare over the summer, but who would set up 2 goals and score himself 2. This is the story of Michu, where he came from and what happened to him afterwards. In 2012, Swansea were beginning their second season in the Premier League. Brendan Rodgers, the head coach under whom they'd won promotion, had gone to Liverpool, with Michael Laudrup taking his place. The club was becoming increasingly cosmopolitan, and, building on first-year survival, they cast their recruiting net far and wide. Jonathan de Guzman and Pablo Hernandez joined from Villarreal and Valencia respectively, the former on loan. Ki-Sun Young moved down from Celtic, and defenders Chico Flores and Kyle Bartley were signed from Genoa and Arsenal. All carried a certain expectation, but one who didn't was the £2.3 million capture from Rayo Vallecano. Michu had never played outside of his native Spain and had never worked with Laudrup before. But he did know what he was signing up for. I really wanted to come to Swansea because of the coach, the style of play, and the Premier League. I had other offers. And yes, Swansea had built a reputation for attractive possession football, and Laudrup, the legendary former Real Madrid and Barcelona player, had enjoyed encouraging spells as a coach at Getafe and Mallorca, where he'd won admiration under difficult circumstances and where his teams had played smart, positional play-based football. And Michu would fit his new team like a glove. And those other offers that he talked of were very real, because he'd just enjoyed the season of his life in Spain. You see, he didn't quite come from nowhere. True, his career began modestly in the 4th tier of Spanish football with his hometown club Oviedo. In 2007, he would join Celta Vigo, then in the Segunda Division, and by 2010 La Liga clubs were paying attention. He would reject a move to Sporting Gijón, reasoning that as a born and bred Oviedo fan, he could never play for a rival team just 20 miles away. Still, he would get a chance a year later, when his Celta contract expired and newly promoted Rayo Vallecano took a punt on the then 25-year-old with no top-flight experience and who was really just a gangly, curiously skilled midfielder with an average goal return. And that is when Michu exploded. He'd spent just 1 season in Madrid, but it was extraordinary. It included 2 poachers' finishes in the Bernabeu, one after just 15 seconds, a further double against Real Sociedad, and a violent half-volley against Granada. Michu could finish with his left foot, his right foot and his head. He was instinctive and predatory, and he would finish the season with 15 goals as the highest scoring midfielder in La Liga. In retrospect, the £2.3 million Swansea paid was outrageous. So much so that, in time, Michu would almost become a unit of transfer market efficiency. During the same summer, Southampton spent £12 million on the disappointing Gaston Ramirez, 6 Michus. Sunderland spent 13.5 on Stephen Fletcher, 6.5 Michus, and Manchester United spent nearly £28 million on Robin van Persie, 14 Michus for those keeping count, even if that transfer worked out quite well. And still, it didn't stop Sir Alex Ferguson from admiring Michu's season and Swansea's transfer acumen. A first-class piece of business, he described it as. Just £2 million and I'd never really heard of him. And first class was right. From that first day at QPR, Michu announced himself in England. His first goal was a goalkeeping error, but his second was classily swept into the top corner. And then he just kept scoring. Brilliant headers against Wigan, and up at Newcastle, a superb composed double to beat Arsenal away, and another against the Gunners at home. Most famous of all was his left-footed side foot at Stamford Bridge, which put Chelsea away in the League Cup semi-final and put the Swans through to Wembley. And he'd score there too, in a 5-0 rout of Bradford City, as the club won their first major trophy in their history. He scored everywhere against everybody, versus Man United, Liverpool and Tottenham, and each time he would celebrate with his hand to his ear, a mocking reference to the criticism he received for turning down that Sporting Gijón move all those years before. And then, then he was gone. 22 goals in 43 games in his first season became 6 from 24 in his second, as knee and ankle problems limited his availability and began to curb the elusive movement and lightning-sharp reactions that had been the source of so many goals. A loan move to Napoli in 2014-15 was supposed to rejuvenate his career, but it would actually mark the beginning of the end. Just a handful of games into his time in Serie A, Michu would suffer an inflammation of the tissue which surrounded the bone in his right ankle, a condition known as periosteitis, and he wouldn't play again for Napoli. or for Swansea, who would pay up the remaining year in his contract in late November 2015, allowing him to return to Spain and to amateur football. He would head back down to where he'd begun, to the Tercera division. He left the cathedral stadia of the Premier League and Serie A behind and would spend 2015-16 playing in front of a few thousand people for Union Popular de Langreo. But he was scoring goals again at a rate of more than one every 2 games, and it would be enough to earn a last hurrah with Oviedo, the club that he'd supported as a boy. There was no last flurry of goals, with injuries reducing him from the player he'd once been, but it was still the right place for his story to end. In July 2017, at the age of just 31, Michu retired from professional football. Today, he's the sporting director of the Segunda Division's Burgos. But he's still not free of the physical issues which cruelly struck him down. When The Athletic's Stuart James interviewed Michu in 2020, the forward explained that he had the right ankle of an 80-year-old and was in pain from just walking. He still described his time at Swansea as having been like a dream. And while he's often described as a one-season wonder, Michu is better remembered as a wonderful player, a cult hero, and as a bright, brilliant comet which briefly sparked across the sky.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and Rafa Honigstein. There are journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.